Today I'm showing you how I made these 3 little forest landscapes with the jelly plate and also with some Decalcomania directly on the paper. Hello jelly fans! This is an old etching that I've had on my wall forever. I framed it black, and suddenly last week I had the idea that I wanted to reproduce it by printing some real leaves and flowers and add an old gnarly tree. So it would be kind of a reproduction, but probably would come out very different. The tree I want to make in a Decalcomania style because it goes so well with the bark of trees. And the flower and leaf bed I wanted to print with real flowers. So I went into my garden and in some corner I found these tiny flowers with their also tiny leaves, and I thought they would size-wise be perfect. I have to squeeze them flat a little bit. This is a bud. I don't know, it will be recognizable as a bud, but I also have these 2 blooming flowers. I don't know what they are, but they're perfect for my little landscape. I recently purchased an A4 new gel plate, but the print has to be a lot smaller. So I'm taking a frame and I cut out a piece of paper to know what size I have to put the paint on. Placing that under the gel plate so I can see really well where I want to print. I'm printing on Fabriano Bristol paper today, as the Bristol paper is very smooth, and I think for that reason it would go well with the Decalcomania that I'm doing a little later. I am printing with only 2 colors today, the golden open carbon black and the red transparent oxide. As you can see, the black is almost gone, so I'm squeezing the last bit out. And then I'm using this ridiculously small brayer to brayer it out. But I think you can use any regular brayer. I'm rolling out roughly the shape of a little hill here for the flowers and the undergrowth. Coming in with the flowers. And this is really difficult, I have to say. You can see how tiny they are. The little bud is even tinier. And placing on the little leaves. I want them to overlap just a little bit, but not too much. I'm pressing all this down with a regular kitchen tissue, and I want to take the paint on the top of the hill off because I want the flowers to be on top, and I'm doing that with a baby wipe. That works very well. And you have to clean it really thoroughly because if you see any stripes or so, it really does look ugly in the print. Time to take the botanicals off. Those leaves are not so great, but the others are quite detailed and beautiful, and the flowers also. So to give this a shape, I'm printing through the cardboard frame I have here. And I'm registering it with a cardboard frame. It's the same A4 size. And this first print with only the color black turned out to be real beautiful. But before I add the tree to this one, I want to make maybe 1 or 2 more prints of hills with flowers and leaves. And for this now, I'm coming in with a transparent red oxide. And note that I'm leaving the paint on the brayer and on the leaves, which is the paint, the black paint is still wet, so it mixes with the red. And yeah, forgot to film this. So this is the outcome. I'm sorry. I just didn't turn on the camera, and you can see it's quite nice. But for you to see the process, I'm repeating this again. I still have some black there on the brayer and on the gel plate and on the leaves. So I'm doing basically the same thing, but of course this time there's a little less black left. And you can see here it gets a little more difficult now because they're sort of wrung out now, and I have to work with some tweezers to get the flowers right. And the leaves, and I have paint on the underside still. Fiddly, 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 but fun. And I'm pressing down that tissue again and cleaning the top. And taking the flowers and leaves off. And I think the mix of the black, the remaining black, makes it very beautiful with the red. I'm printing through the frame again. And let me remind you that if you print this, you have to go in all the corners of that frame, in this case only 2 corners, and really press it hard on the edges. So now I have 3 beautiful variations of hills with flowers. And now I'm making some tests for the Decalcomania tree technique. I'm diluting the golden open paint with some water. Quite a bit of water actually. You just have to try what is the perfect mixture for your Decalcomania. And then I'm taking the same Bristol paper and the smooth paper, and I'm painting on a tree first, and then I'm coming in with a transparent or Duralar sheet. This is, in this case, it's an overhead projected sheet, but it's really the same as Duralar. And to make this effect, you always have to go back a little, lift up again, go back, lift up again. This did not work so well, so I'm repeating that. Giving it another try. Pushing the paint a little. And you can see I have so much paint up there that it's really, that is a strange kind of tree, and I don't like it so much. And the Decalcomania doesn't work that well. So what I'm doing is a little less water as to the paint. So this is a thicker mix. And pushing the paint. And now you can see that it works quite a bit better. So the mixture shouldn't be too watered down. Yeah, this is what I wanted. But I don't like that I can't control the shape of the tree any better. So I'm trying something else. This is my A4 masking tape sheet. It's not a tape, it's a whole sheet. And I'm trying to get the shape of the tree through the original, but that doesn't really work. So I'm placing on the frame first to see how much space I need for the tree. And I'm sort of drawing it by hand here. Sorry, I left that other sheet underneath, so don't be confused by that. I'm actually looking at the original to draw out the rough shape here. So I'm putting this sheet over the printed hill just to see where the tree has to go to look nice. And I'm drawing out the upper shapes of the flowers here. And that's all I need. And I cut this out. And I can only really recommend these A4 sheets. They're kind of expensive, but they're really worth it. They hardly let any paint run under, which happens to me often with the usual masking tape. This is a lot better. Now to get this off the plastic sheet, that is kind of fiddly. And I start below at the hill and the flowers because it has to be registered well there. And I work my way up. This is sped up and I made this real slow. I just have to take my time to get this right. I also taped off the rest of the paper on the sides to prevent it from having like paint splatters. And I did that with a surgical tape. So I have the shape of the tree there, so I don't have to think about that. And I'm just making the effect through this stencil. And I'm going on with my transparent sheet. In wavy movements, I'm going down again and up again, down again and up again. You see down here, I get the wave effect, which I like a lot. And yeah, that looks good. And this is how it looks after I've taped it, after I've taken the tape off. And what I said was wrong. It did run underneath, which is a bummer. But it's not that bad because it's at the rim, at the very rim of the whole thing. And also I want to have a forest background here, which is why now I'm taking that cut out tree shape. And this time I'm blocking off the tree. And it's perfect that I have both negative and positive. And I have another left over from that masking sheet to cover the top of that little hill with the flowers. And for the background of this black tree, I want to have a transparent red texture. And I don't know yet what I'm trying to do here. It's a bummer I didn't realize that the medical tape I used on the sides, they're not very good because very fluid paint runs over it, under it, as you'll see in a minute. So here I'm trying to give it some texture with the brayer and then with the transparent sheet. And I think, again, the mixture is a little too thin. I get a little bit of texture, but not, well, it's not that great. Some roots. I call this texture roots in comparison with the other texture, that's the wavy pattern, the waves. But I'm thinking, okay. And I'm taking off that tape before it even dried, because then it's easier to get it off. And I'm not happy with the flat red background, so I'm putting in some of the black here too, which is not so satisfying, but that is okay because it's only supposed to be the background. So when I take the medical tape off, you can see that quite a lot ran under that tape. So I really cannot recommend it. And it is very strange because I've used it before and this didn't happen. Maybe it's my fault that I didn't press it on well enough. So I'm starting the workout. As usual, giving the trees some shadows. Also working those waves out a little bit. And the flowers and the leaves. I'm actually inventing another frame here for the flowers to make them pop out more. Again, I want to mention that this Fabriano Bristol paper works very well for this because it has this sort of smooth surface that the Decalcomania technique works on quite well. And also it is 200 GSM, which is not too heavy, but it can take a lot of fluid paint, as you see, without even buckling, I wanted to say. Without evening. Yeah, I've got it. This one is called The Forest in the Evening. And it's not so bad that the paper is smudged on the edges. I can still frame it with my Passepartout cardboard frame. But I want to work up some more. I want to have a darker black, so I'm using a fine liner. And this is a multi-liner by, I don't know, it will be in the list below this video. And yeah, so I'm giving it some more contrast, some darker shadows. I'm going back to my Polychromos pencil and darkening some of the waves. It's funny that part of the tree bark pattern is made of waves. I have made, as you know, I've made a lot of Decalcomania videos, and I made one with the blue color, and that immediately had to be a seascape, of course. So the waves work best with the waves. And here I've dug out some stamps, and they're made to be corals. Well, they are corals. They look a lot like corals, and I think they are corals. But I guess they can also work as little undergrowth and bushes. So I'm using that for the background and just stamping on directly. A little bit between the leaves and the flowers. And I'll stamp some more in the background a little later. But obviously I had the urge to finish that hill undergrowth first. So I'm in white parts, I'm just making it black. This pencil is a bit shiny, but if you see it under normal light, it's not shiny. It looks as dark as the tree itself. This is sped up a lot, and also I'm cutting this short. The video is already so long, and I haven't even gotten to the other two. So here I'm finishing this I'm finishing the lower part with the multi-liner by Copic, it is. And then I'm working some more in the background and just inventing some trees. You can't really see it, but I'm using the pencils in a different way because I'm not pressing that hard, so that these tree trunks in the back, they don't get as dark as it's not as dark as the black in the foreground. And here I'm stamping on some more bushes, which is, I don't know, I think it's confusing more than it really adds to it. So I'm not that happy with it, but whatever. I just work it out a little. It's still not over. I think I need some highlights because it all is so muddy and dark. I want to have some highlights on the tree. And as the Passepartout frame is not covering all of the sides, I'm just covering that with my gel pen that has white ink in it. Jelly roll it is, and it works quite well. Yeah, this is it, my evening forest. How do you like it? I like it a lot, but it has too much in it. It's a little too confusing, I think. Well, on I go with the red and black little hill. I can't stress enough that you can actually see through that masking sheet. And I've said it often before, but this is a wonder stuff. So I'm preparing the cutout for the tree. I'm blocking the hill and the flowers off. I'm actually using that plastic sheet that the masking tape was sitting on so that I get almost exactly the same tree. And this is important. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I think that the tree really has to go on a little bit under that flower. And so I have to cut that out and make it a part of the tree also. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Well, I have a feeling you don't want to see me cut this out for hours. So I'm cutting this short too. This is actually not an exacto knife, but it's a surgical blade I'm using here. You have to be careful with it because it's easy to cut yourself. And the fiddly work of registering that tape with the hill. Take your time when you do this, because if it glues together once you've put it on, it's hard to get it off again. And using some leftover from that sheet just to protect the page more. What I'm doing is I'm taking my acrylic binder. The lid is broken, so I don't even have to open it. And with this acrylic binder, I want to have a little more smoothness on the tree. That was just a test. So I'm using it on the tree, and the other effect it has is that it also seals off the side of the masking sheet, the corners where it could flow under. Also that little piece of the tree down there beneath the flowers, and I'm just sort of sealing this off. And I know that the Decalcomania will work even better with this. But as I said, the Bristol paper is very good. I'm just testing it a little bit here, and you can see how much better it works actually with that binder gel. You can also use a primer. And then I'm making quite a thick mixture and making root texture with my brayer. The best part is always to get the masking sheet off and discover that you have a perfect tree with root texture. Fiddly again. And some of it still ran under up there. But that could be just like some leftover leaves. And immediately I'm starting to work out. And you can see it was a good thing that I lengthened the tree a little more into the hill. And I'm using that Copic Fineliner again. It's very reliable, it never smears or smudges. Well, this has to get some very dark shadows too, because it's in a dark evening forest. And you know what? That's all I'm gonna do. No background this time. I like it as it is. Yes, I like it. I leave it. Next is the one that I printed first with the black. It was supposed to be a first test, but it works very well. If not, I think it's even the best print regarding the leaves and the flowers. So I'm working on it straight away with the fineliner before I even print the tree. Aren't they cute, those little flowers and leaves? The smaller the scale gets, the more I like it sometimes. It's a very good print, but very, very small. And again, for the shape of the tree, I'm using the shape I cut out before. And this one I have to turn around because the top of the hill is on the right. So for the balance of the painting, I have to turn it. So same, sorry, my voice is real bad today, I don't know. I swallowed a frog. Yeah, same, cutting out of the surroundings. And then I'm treating this with a binder layer because I thought that worked so well. And this time, you guessed it, I'm making a red tree. Ooh, that's so radical, isn't it? Expressionist painting. And I'm already making some Decalcomania with the brush here, but didn't want to rely on that and used a transparent sheet again. And it's a root texture. The difference is if you lift it quickly, then you get the roots. If you work slowly and like really in a wave motion, you get the waves. At least I think that is the secret. You just have to try it out for yourself. And this one's so pleasing. It works really well. And this time I forgot about where the tree hits the hill, so that's not so good, and I have to make something like a smooth blending. I'm also using the pencil that is called, the color is called Coral. Isn't that funny? Coral. And just a little touch up, just some deepening of shadows here and there. And then it's done. I think I like this one the most of the three. But tell me what you think. Tell me in the comments. I love your comments. So, I'm very satisfied with this week's session. And I hope you had some fun too and you try something similar. It's worth it. See you next week. Bye.